All right. So our guest is here na, no? Dr. Raymond Escalona. So welcome to Real Talk Lifeline. I am going to add him to the stream. Yun. Dr.
Hey,
Raymond.
Marts.
Yo, bro. Sige. So, Real Talk Lifeline. Topic lang for the day to get to it na is mental emotional health and functional medicine. So, before we dive in, okay lang if I just give a quick background, no?
Yeah.
And then ikaw din, bro. I'll introduce myself and then kind of segue into you, and then I'd like to hear from your side. No, I'm here to learn. Literally, I got my notes, and also for the audience. No, Real Talk Lifeline is about people who talk about topics like this. No, and super interesting to get insights from the functional medicine side. So quick backstory, no. Um, I've shared a bit of my story here kasi in the group, but relating to you, kay Dr. Raymond Escalona, I can just call him bro kasi he's a childhood friend of mine, no, back in 1992, no, when I moved here in
Wow, you're
Alabang.
so accurate. You know exactly when we we hung out. That's grade
I
three, I think, or grade two, ba?
I think, yeah, dude. And then I remember vividly kasi we were neighbors, tapos it was like Super Nintendo era pa yun. So talagang we were still kids at the time. Uh, and then we were classmates, no, all the way up through high school. We parted ways lang, no, because I went to college, UNP. I think you went to Ateneo, tama ba?
Yeah.
Yun. So this is where our stories kind of diverge, no. Tapos why is the topic mental emotional health, no? So I followed the narrative of society. I took a 5-year course in UANP. Parang you get your major and masters in 5 years, like a bundle. And then 2005 to 2010. A year later, I get my first job in corporate. So 3 years. I ended up burning out. So I worked my way from like trainee, supervisor, manager. And then I was in a 9-year relationship that time. That was since high school, 5 years of college. So tagal, no? And then I had no idea what the hell mental emotional health was at the time, no? And then, yun, 2014, I stumbled upon a mentor accidentally. And then he mentioned the Ultravine Solution by Dr. Mark Hyman. So this is where Doc Raymond comes in, no? Because I had no idea until we crossed paths again. So for those who don't understand lang, functional medicine, obviously see Doc Raymond will give a better understanding. The way my mentor taught it to me, super basic, was whatever we eat or whatever we take in, media, environment, or exposure, it has a direct effect on our health. No, not just our physical, no, like our body, diba, ganon. As in our brain fog, our ability to focus, anxiety, depression. That's where it hit me. All the way down to like OCD or like a spectrum of autism, parang ganon. So Doc Raymond hopefully can give us tips about that because I've been trying to apply that in my life. So that's how my backstory was, no, as kids growing up. I'm curious to hear about your side, bro. Parang before we head into the topic, no, like how did you get into this? And I knew you were like a doctor, heart doctor, ba yun? Tapos you got
Ah,
into it.
it's a long time ago. Oh my gosh.
Yun, yun.
Yeah. So we were friends in high school. Then we went to
Mm-hmm.
college. College was in pre med. uh, why did I do med ba? I like kids, eh. So I like helping kids. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, I just go do pre med. Then in pre med, I um fell in love with public health. So I was doing a lot of public health work for. I think I started public health work when I was in second year college. I was mentored under the dad of my friend, si Riva. He was a former health secretary, Dr. Galveston. Doc Jimmy is what we call him. And then after that, we I graduated Ateneo. It was the straight course, the 9-year program of Ateneo to go into the med school of of the university.
Mm-hmm.
And then the med school was the double degree MD MBA program. So I finished my health sciences one. I was in public health most of the time, and then after that, while I was in med school, I still worked public health. It's my passion that I like community based medicine. Then when we were about to finish, we're doing the rotations. Syempre you have to choose na what you wanna be, diba? Like what kind
Yeah.
of doctor you wanna do. um, I like the cath lab. If you're familiar with the cath lab, it's this place in
Ooh.
the hospital where you put the stents. Parang it's a big X-ray there. You have patients there who have blockages in the heart. And then you put this long catheter. Parang it's a long wire all the way goes to the heart. You check the blocks. So parang
Ooh.
technician, parang plumber, plumber of the heart
Cool. For the
from the
heart.
wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the
Amazing.
wrist. Yeah, it was intense stuff. And I did my mga observerships there. Apart from public health work, and then I was about to go in when I graduated. So we passed passed the boards. Boards are boards. It's not the easiest thing that you'll go through. Not the hardest thing.
Understatement.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing. Stuff. I had to lock myself in where I was studying for about I think it was 4 months or 5 months.
Wild.
Really detox, like clean lifestyle, no alcohol, no nothing. Just didn't leave a room for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then after I took that, I was applying for US licensure exam to study in the
Mm.
States. But while I was studying for that exam, I saw the work of Dean Ornish. This doctor. I got hired by a company to do research for them. And then in the work that Dean Ornish had been doing since 1992, he had been reversing heart disease with food and exercise. So at that
Um,
point, I was like, whoa, why don't we know this? Parang the stuff we know is kind of outdated. So
mhm.
um, it was the early era of the internet. So we started to work on, I started to research, ask the question, what else don't we know? Then we got into this big rabbit hole looking at lifestyle as medicine, and
Mm.
then got into the books of Mark Hyman, functional medicine. And I
Okay.
was very fortunate enough to get picked up by a local functional medicine practitioner. He's the guy who brought it here, actually, Dr. Oy. And then
Oh.
when we hooked up, uh, he was a former professor of mine in med school. He helped teach me the initial functional medicine. Then I committed to it, and then I said, okay, I'll just go to the States, do masters, and do functional medicine training. Then when I got there, I got into it's like the Harvard of naturopathic med school. It's Bastyr University. I got into their
Mm.
campus in San Diego, studied masters in nutrition for wellness, and then I did my functional medicine training at the same time and my mentorship at the same time for autoimmune disease and gut health. um, and with that, I guess the rest is history. I was there for about a couple of years, and I learned so much. Then I came back. And I came back. Worked for Life Science, which is the first company I worked for 3 years.
UDGC.
Yeah,
I visited
in the
you.
3 years that I had been working for them, um, I was the director of education. So super young director. I was like 20. Oh my gosh, how old am I? I'm 34, 29, I think. 30. A super young director in
Wow.
the company. um, my task was to bring functional medicine to Southeast Asia,
Oh my goodness.
and we succeeded. I mean, in a year and a half or in 2 years, we were able to execute 332 lectures on functional medicine across
Wow.
the entire region, and then um, we were able to educate about, or at least touch, no? I think the count was
Mm-hmm.
about 500,000 people. I think we were able to introduce a concept of functional medicine to that number. Um, we were able to bring the first two conferences to Southeast Asia. I led both scientific events. And then people don't know. Well, people know now. I got sick doing that. It's tough work. The pressures are different, and so before the
What?
pandemic, and I probably 4 or 5 months before the pandemic hit, I um ano na, nagpaalam ako sa mga boss ko. I said, I'll try to start my own practice. Thank you for all the learnings, but I think I'm gonna step back. So I stepped back right before the pandemic hit, and for 2 years now, I think I've been practicing online. So I've been practicing online since I was in the States. So I just same patients and all that. And do a lot of different other stuff on the side. There's a lot of work that I do, but the
Yeah.
clinical side is just that. I guess that's the story. What I left out would most likely be the mentors that had trained me. A lot of good mentors have trained me over that course of time. And now, I'm mentoring a couple of the young ones now who want to do functional medicine locally. So
Wow.
we'll see what happens. But uh, it just so happens kasi that in the entire country, I think I was the third certified, and
Hmm.
I was the first one mentored in the practice, and I'm the first one who really went to the States to do 2 year whatever big
In the
training
country.
for the practice. Yeah.
Wow. Is this IFM, the Institute of
I trained in
Fun?
IFM, so we all train in IFM, but
Mhm.
one of the IFM faculty, Dr. Lisa Perry, she's my mentor. She's so good. She took me in while I was in Bastyr. It was lucky timing, and she's in San Diego at that time.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so man, you mentioned that you got sick 4 months even before COVID. No, you had to take a step back. Was that serious? Like, was it how
uh,
do I say this?
well, I was getting
Was,
sick. Knowing well the work that I do is like I really see risk ahead of time, right? So I see if
mm-hmm,
people are gonna get sick ahead of time, maybe 5, 10 years before these events happen.
mm-hmm.
And it was Lisa, is my mentor, who saw it first.
Wow.
And with the way I was pushing myself and just getting to the goal of getting functionals into the region, she said, Raymond, you can't sustain this. You're gonna get sick at some point.
Wow.
And by getting sick, she told me that she had colleagues before that were as passionate, but they just burned out. They got
Mm-hmm.
cancer, mental health problems, turned to addictions and whatnot. And she said, if you continue the pace, wala na. Parang, all go for nothing at some point. And
Correct.
you have to ask yourself, why are you doing it? Why at this torrid pace? Where's the pressure coming from? So I took a
Mm.
step back and I was asking myself, man, why am I so pressured? I'm so young. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
life, a lot of life left to live. And if you just
Mm-hmm.
pace it, might be able to do it for a longer period of time, which is what we all want, right? To do something we're passionate in for a long period of time. So yeah,
Correct.
when I stepped back, um, I'd say it was very, it was tough transition coming from
Mm-hmm.
a corporate job, then fending for yourself. But now things are things have stabilized, I guess, and things are going the way I guess I want them to go. The pace is okay. I'm not burning out so much. Get to do what I want. But buti lang I got caught there because I was getting sick now. My thyroid wasn't working well. I
Mm.
was so thin. I don't know if you saw me during the time. The way you saw me in
What?
life science, I was so thin, dude. I was like
Yeah,
100.
you were like you gave me the chia seeds. I forgot that those
The
shot
smoothie.
glasses.
I was like 128 pounds, I think, 125. I'm 5'6.5". My ideal weight should be about 135. So
Ideal, no?
I was
Damn,
pretty
128.
yeah, I was thin that time. Paano kasi I was traveling, I go to 3 countries in like a day or
Man.
like from Manila, fly to Indonesia or Singapore. From Singapore, sleep lang there. Next morning, do a lecture, then fly to Indonesia or Malaysia. Malaysia, stay there, leave that night, go to Manila na again. From Manila, 2 days here, fly to Davao. Go to, doon to
Wild,
the
no?
lecture na. So every time you make a stop, you do give a lecture. So parang, there's a point where I had probably 5 slide decks, different topics: autism, gut health, autoimmune disease, functional medicine intro. All of those decks were simultaneously being run. So I do one lecture in the morning for autism. I do one for lunch for autoimmune. I do one in the afternoon for maybe mental health or evening. Then the next day you do one for function, and it's crazy stuff, dude.
Man, man, this live is just like an intro, no? Siguro like for people who want to get to know you, no? Parang my mind's going
Mm.
crazy na, no? Daming ano, side quests or
And it's a lot, yeah, it's
stories.
a lot of work
Yeah.
gotta get the time.
But the last thing you mentioned is perfect because we're like segueing or going into the topic. Mental emotional health. I believe there's some people na nga who can relate to you already because working
Mm-mm.
hard and burning out. I think that's also related to the topic of health, no? And
Mm-mm.
then in my case, right before this, no, our live, I actually did take your advice. I reached out to Mark. So he's our friend from our batchmate, and Mark Beltran. No, I didn't know he teaches. Because you mentioned mindfulness before, no, he teaches breath work,
Yeah,
yoga,
Wim Hof.
and
There's Wim
the
Hof.
ice bath of.
Yeah.
That's why I reached out to him, and I have done it with him. Crazy guy. I love that guy, no?
Oh, I should, dude.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I've been doing that. It's part of healing my depression, Ren. So we can focus on the topic of functional medicine, no? Because I was open to ideas, and so far, no, there are things that work. No? So what we're actually getting into the topic already. Um, what are basics, no, functional medicine? If someone is totally new to this, they're like, what the hell is this term? Like, what are you talking about, diba? Is there a scientific basis? Is this some woo-woo shit, diba ganon? Uh, what's like a basic crash course into this so that, like someone can go, this is real. What can I do to try this to get into it?
Okay. Well, the scientific, I guess, scientific field where it comes from is the field called systems biology. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we all have cells in the body, diba? You have your brain cell,
Mm-hmm.
heart cell, liver cell, lung cell. We're made of cells. Eh? Each cell has function, right? It's like a little house has function. And the functions of the cell are done through biochemical pathways. You have your sugar pathway, fats pathway, all these mga immune pathways. And basically what function medicine does is it puts an understanding to how your cells are functioning from the smallest unit in a biochemical language as they interact with the other um, parts of the body. So basically, it's understanding the body as a whole, looking at it through the lens of biochemistry, and understanding, for example, if the brain cell functions this way biochemically, what are the triggers or what are the things that push and pull those functions across different parts of the body. And if you explain it in a way that is, I guess, simpler, no, we can also say that at the end of the day, our body always responds to the environment that we live in. So you had mentioned at the start of the interview,
Mm-hmm.
um, food you eat, the lifestyle you live, movement you do. Lifestyle meaning movement, nutrition, sleep, stress. You have here purpose in life. You have social connection,
Wow.
and
Yes.
then you have a couple of things that are left unthought of or like undiagnosed, which are chronic infections and toxins. So all of these factors will turn on and off different genes in our body and our cells, and those genes or parts of the cell will create function. So let's say ikaw, if you're Asian, let's say, and don't have the capacity to digest dairy, if I give you dairy, you're gonna get inflamed. The body will say, "Oh, I can't digest that dairy. I'll produce inflammation against the dairy." Then the inflammation
Oh.
can go to different parts of the body at that point in time. So we're asking the question then, what are all the things in the environment that are good for this person, and what are all the things in the environment that are not so good for this person, and how do you create a balance amongst all those factors at this point in time? Deeper than that, actually, is also the question that are
Mm-hmm.
we tracking what we need to track, and when we do certain interventions, are we able to identify when things in the body have shifted in trend. Then when
Yes.
you get to understand all those stuff, then you know how the body works with different inputs. You know how the body works, then you know what to do with the body and how to shift them away from dysfunctional types of expressions.
So I like that thing that that you mentioned, bro. So dysfunctional expressions. Ano, just writing notes lang. So people who caught that yung markers or tracking, because I believe I went through that with you, no. You had the chart, or you do that with your clients, no. And we track not just the food, parang how I was feeling, diba, stuff like that, no. So talagang it's very measurable. So one thing that hit me here, you mentioned the word, excuse me, was toxins, and then that dysfunctional expression. No? So what are examples of that? Because you mentioned stress, burning out, depression, stuff like that. What are things? Parang it's like red flags, or stuff that people these days, you see them keep falling into that trap, or they're not even aware of it. No, because you
It's
see
a lot
package.
actually. Adds a lot. Food's easy.
Food is
A lot of toxins in food, how you grow them, how you produce them, how you transport them.
mhm,
All these things will have some sort of toxin in them because unless it's really clean food. You can
mhm,
do environment, things you breathe, things you put in your skin, from lotions to, uh, I guess, cosmetics products, shampoo you use. Anything you
tama.
put on your body gets absorbed over time. No matter if people tell you it's a lotion, doesn't get absorbed. No, that's not true. Your skin will actually absorb a lot of stuff. So yeah, toxins are just things in the environment that can come to the body, things you put in, and then there are different types of other toxins in the form of mga stressors, triggers, things that will get your body to respond differently, and that's more in the mental emotional spaces naman of life.
Is there a practical or a constructive way? Because when I hear this, no, by default my mind fixates on the danger, diba? I had to learn that from T. Harv Eker. I thought I was crazy. Parang the primary objective of our brain is not to make us happy. It's survival. Pala. So
Yeah.
when I understood that, the science also behind it, the psychology, if I see all these toxins, what can someone do today? Because we're living in a world full of FMCGs, mass produced stuff like that, deodorant, maganon. So almost everything has toxins that we take in today, diba? So instead of living in fear or like paranoia, parang what would you do or recommend to?
Uh, Simple stuff like exercise. You get to sweat. You get to clear toxins. Poop every day. If you don't poop every day, you're storing toxins.
Mm,
Um, Choose better. Excuse me. Yeah, choose better.
cool.
So try to check products with without these additives, preservatives, or chemicals, and then yeah, that's the simple thing to do it. There are a little bit more complicated ways, like looking into a person's genetics or looking into a person's biochemistry and how they're clearing toxins. Uh, but that's more in the practitioner side of things. It's not really in a
Correct.
layman's type of perspective. But
They can reach
um,
out to you pag ganun, no?
yeah,
Like,
even if they, ano do,
mag-consultation sila with you.
uh, not, yeah, if they get space, my wait list is so long now. So I have,
Yeah. Well, and anyway, in the end of the live na lang, you could share where they can find you. Because I know you have a long wait list, no? So maybe you have a group rin, diba? To just support your cause as you're spreading it through the country and through Southeast Asia, no? So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned exercise, sweating out the toxins, choosing better lang, being more conscious. Like, I tried doing that pala. So, like, I had pochero ba yun last night or something. Kasi usually people would eat fried chicken, white rice, diba? And they have a lot of oil stuff, yung mga processed food in their life. So, You're just mentioning some practical tips, no, on how
Yeah.
people can get started.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there something that to make it sustainable, no, like a long term practice? What's the average person like their lifestyle shift into from? I think they call that like the standard American diet, the before something. Instead of eating a lot of cereals, processed food, fried, white bread or white rice, diba yung ganon? Soft drinks, diba sugar, ganon. What can the average person do to apply functional medicine, no? From past programming, diba? Or like yung mainstream na ganon.
Mm. uh, Lifestyle's the easiest. I mean, you fix your life, you have good foundations in lifestyle, you're halfway there.
Mhm.
Food, exercise, stress, sleep, and purpose in life. Social support, and then if things still don't fix, then try to get some other stuff in, try to test certain things, try to test, yeah, in and out. But I think the topic we're supposed to talk about is mental health. So are we
Correct,
gonna
correct.
jump
Let's
into that anytime
game.
soon?
Let's
Get
be more
the
focused, man. I like how you caught that. No? So
yeah,
yeah,
we're
like
we're
detective.
sludging on eh. The pace is getting a bit slow.
So ito, game focused into mental and emotional health. A lot of the people kasi in the group, they deal kasi with anxiety. It's not just depression. I saw there are people naman, obviously keeping their confidentiality. When they take consultations, they end up taking like escitalopram, diba? All these stuff like Prozac or Xanax or stuff like that, diba?
Yeah, mood
And I've seen that.
stabilizers.
Yeah, and when I had my anxiety attacks, the last 2 years of my relationship, I went. This is off the record. And I went to a doctor in Asian hospital, and then he said you could take a yellow form drug called Rivotril because I was having anxiety attacks. So that sounded scary, not because it's a yellow form drug, but it's it's like people I've seen who take that path, they don't really get better. They just loop. Parang, okay, you're gonna be stuck on it for life. I don't wanna do that. Diba? Parang, and I'm not a scientist, ah. Parang medyo basic pa lang, no? I think you're
Mm.
the one who finished Alondra, dude. Like hanggang FF7 level lang yung puzzle solving skills pa na. So, yun, what can we do, no, when it comes to that mental emotional health?
Yeah. So you have to answer the question first, what's happening, right? How's the brain work? Why
Yeah.
is the brain firing, misfiring, or firing that way? Um, in mental health disorders, there are a couple of different subsets to these things. And
Mm-hmm.
generally, if you think of the brain is a organ system that has a lot of energy, right? If you think about it, the brain needs so much energy for it to function properly. Uh, just me trying to kind of move my hands, there's just a lot of energy produced in my frontal cortex, maybe the left side, creates the energy here, shoots down my spine, shoots
Mm.
down, then it's gonna hit into my right hand, and I can move my arms. In the same way that if there's sensation that someone hits my hand here, it triggers the nerve here, sends a signal up into my spine, to my brain. Brain recognizes signal. Our brain says, "Hey, there's a signal. Someone hit your hand." Then you have to react to the signal.
Yeah.
So, when we think of mental health disorders or mood disorders, um, you're thinking that a part of the brain that controls mood, maybe the limbic system or some part of the brain here or the frontal cortex, has misfiring. Something is inappropriately being triggered or inadequately being triggered,
Mm.
right? Does it make sense from
Okay.
that standpoint, right? So, for example, if um, I'm anxious, if you try to dissect that feeling of anxiety,
Yeah.
being anxious is actually a self-preservation type of response, which you mentioned a while ago. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
if we put you in Africa and we put a lion in front of you, lion starts to chase you, your body turns on your stress system, and the stress system will flood your body with energy so you can start running.
Okay.
When you start running, what happens? Your heart beats faster, you're not gonna poop, You're gonna hold your wee wee. You're not gonna want to reproduce or have sex because you're gonna run from the lion.
Yeah.
There's no
Survival.
way or form that your brain can create insight. You're not gonna be solving puzzles if you have to run from the lion. You're gonna start to just. I mean, the brain will just be in this fight or flight mode where it's just trying to save you from that occurrence of danger. So,
Yes.
anxiety then is a condition where the body perceives danger without the dangerous stimulus being there anymore.
Ah,
Does
okay.
it make sense? It perpetuates that stimulus. So, for example, if
Yes.
you broke up with a person, super deep breakup, you're very attached to that person, and you feel that your attachment to that person is needed so much that it allows you to survive on a daily basis. If you cut the
Oh,
attachment, the brain thinks you can't survive, right? The next day. So what happens? You get this attack of anxiety. You get into that mode where the body wants to run away without any perceived trigger. The trigger is all in the mental space.
is that the
I,
limbic? The limbic part of the brain you were saying?
it's all interconnected in my limbic
It all,
dyan,
even
yeah, the
the
frontal
okay, even the
cortex,
front. Wild.
hippocampal area. So if we then try to ask the question, why do people get anxiety? It's
Yes.
always triggered by an intense fear of something. And then that intense fear gets perpetuated over time. And because it's being perpetuated, the body reacts in a physiologic standpoint.
Okay.
So if that's the issue, um, what then would happen if you start to turn off the body's physiologic response state with a drug or something? Well, in the first place, it'll buy you time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll buy you time until your brain can rationalize that there is no danger in your environment. Um, in doing that action of buying you time, what does it do to the body? It turns off certain systems. It kind of reduces the energy potential in the brain. So instead of
Yes.
keeping the brain turned on, just turn off the energy. Then you won't feel depressed. You won't feel anxious because you're dumbing down the energy. Same thing that if you take marijuana or THC, it's actually a energy suppressor of cells or the body. That's why you feel very light, you feel very parang lightheaded, you're lethargic and all that.
Is
So
that good for the brain?
um no,
Okay,
exactly.
yun, yun, yun. This is
Because
why you're here.
the
Some
brain is
people are.
very energetic, right? The brain needs a lot of
Yes.
energy to function.
Mm-hmm.
So if you then turn on the energy of the brain, um, and things in the brain are still not wired correctly, you're still not getting the logic that you're not in danger, that brain will keep firing the anxiety signal.
Wow.
So something's trying to turn it off, but the signal keeps trying to push forward. Then what you have a mismatch. Some parts of the brain are turned off, some parts of the brain are pushed forward. And the mismatch is then where you get certain side effect symptoms or some other symptoms of perpetuating anxiety or on and off anxiety. You feel half good, but not really. You feel full good today, then later you're not so good anymore. You start to fluctuate the energy potential. So, in terms of mental health stuff, the critical factor is to put them in a space that's safe.
Okay, okay. So
To put
that's
them in a space where they don't feel in danger. And I don't know where that is. That's very different for each person.
mm-hmm.
Some people it's with friends, with family. Some people it's with music. It's with their passion, their hobby. When you put them in that space where nothing will happen to them, there's no danger. That's when you try to rewire the the loop.
Oh,
See, when you
wow.
start to rewire, because they're not in an anxious or stressed state, the brain can now start to create insight. Insight is when the left and the right brain hemisphere start to connect to create
Mm-hmm.
the good ideas that we want. So, insight only happens in a non anxious, non fight or flight state.
Oh my God. Okay, okay. This
So
is making
that's why
sense.
when you look at the research, a lot of the insight happens when you meditate, because meditation is a very non-sectarian type of activity where you're trying
Yeah.
to just focus on the thing that's not related to your environment, and it starts to allow the two brain hemispheres to connect to each other.
When you say, rewire the loop. Kasi Mark teaches that rin eh. He said like
Mm-mm.
the most important part is getting into a meditative state when he teaches the breathing.
Mm-mm.
And he says
Mm-mm.
that also
Mm-mm.
happens during the ice bath. Parang when the
There's
body goes into shock and
yeah.
then it actually stabilizes.
There's
So,
no one way to induce it. Maybe that's the
mhm,
answer to your question.
yeah.
There are a couple of ways to try to keep practicing to induce it, but any meditative state will get you into that state of insight. And then when you're in insight, you can play the rosary if you want. You can go for a walk, exercise. When you're in the state of
Mm.
insight, that's when most of your really really good ideas come in, and that's where you actually understand things for what they are without any bias or judgment.
Oh my God. I have to write that down. When you understand things without bias. Okay. So is that like seeing the truth? Like some Satori experience, right? Like parang
Some people
enlightenment.
think that's the one. I don't know. I've never been to any of those experiences, but all I know is that if I get into a meditative state, we play golf or I don't know, I'm running.
Mm-hmm.
I do um I don't know some meditative state. It it allows your body to your brain to problem solve things that you thought before didn't have any solutions.
Wow.
So
Man.
then mental health then becomes a a state of flux. You're
Mm-hmm.
sad now, you're not sad now. It all depends on the brain energy.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of your brain as a very um, energetic organ system, if we don't supply it with good energy, we don't supply it with good fuel or the things that will combust fuel properly in the brain, in the mitochondria. And also, our brains have a lot of mitochondria or the powerhouse of the cells.
Mm-hmm.
um, then you won't get better because that mitochondria won't fire properly. If the mitochondria don't fire properly, the nerves don't fire properly. If the nerves don't fire properly, the brain doesn't get to do it, whatever it needs to do to correct itself.
So are you saying you need to do it in combination? Because
Oh
some
yeah,
people, like
yeah.
parang they eat junk food, then they're gonna say, I'm gonna meditate. Diba? Or I'm
Uh,
gonna.
they might get some insight if they do that, but there's still a mitochondrial or neurotoxin in the system. So
Mm-hmm.
something is gonna block the insight at some point.
Oh, no wonder. And again, this is just for people who are more open-minded. Like, because I tried ayahuasca. Now you know this is real talk lifeline. No? I tried ayahuasca this year. The my birthday April. No? So they said that you have to. It's highly recommended. You have a dieta or like a very clean diet.
Mm.
Before you do it, as in like 20 days or 2 weeks or something before. And I
Mm.
noticed maybe people who don't follow that advice, like they have a bad trip, man. They purge, meaning they
Mm.
vomit
Mm.
like very violently or painfully. So parang you have to do the food pala with the meditation. Diba?
Well, it's an entire lifestyle. Also,
Entirely.
it's not all or nothing. It's not like it's a yes or no. There's like it's like a knob. It's a dial. So
Okay.
you turn the dial to the level that you can do it. You expect the same amount of outcome with the level that you turn that dial.
You mentioned this
Mm.
in lifestyle, no? You said food, exercise, better choices, purpose in life, social support, diba? I think you also mentioned sleep, stuff like that.
Sleep
No?
and
So,
stress, yeah. Sleep and stress management.
yun. What do you mean by yung sleep and stress pala? I understand the sleep part.
Protecting sleep and managing stress. So stress is always a what you call an allostatic load. It's a load on the body and the brain.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that say your to-do list for the day. That's an allostatic load. It's something that you're loading to the body,
Yes,
and
I
your
feel
ability
that.
to handle allostatic load is dependent on how much load you put or how resilient you are holding the load. So my teachers always taught me that think of a uh, let's say 100-pound weight. Let's say that that's what you have to carry every day.
Yeah.
um, and let's say you're a I don't know, you're a medicine ball, you know, the bouncy ball. 100-pound weight would come in, bouncy ball stretches. As the bouncy ball stretches, goes back out, it can carry the load. As opposed to, let's say, if you were a balloon,
Oh,
put the 100-pound weight in the balloon, pops right away.
yeah.
But if you put even a 10-pound weight on the balloon and you drop it from a higher place, right, more velocity, pops the balloon right away. So metaphorically, the idea about allostatic load is not about the number of things you're doing, but the resiliency of your own person to
Oh my gosh.
counteract the
Under
load that's
stress.
happening.
Cool.
Now there are ways to get you to be more bouncy, to get you to get into that kind of the bouncy ball level. And the way to do that is like to do certain activities that stretch the resiliency of your system.
Shit, I think that's what Mark's doing. I
Yeah,
don't know.
meditation does that. Putting yourself under practiced stress does that. Like the Navy SEALs, for example, when they train, they put themselves in situations that they will encounter during the battle. So during the battle, or whatever mission they have a lot more load. um, but it goes both ways. No, as you train hard more and more, you have better load. Then what happens when during the day that you have no more load? Then it works
Oh,
the other way naman. Then you're
parang
imploding naman.
you
You
get
can do so much.
PTSD
Yeah, you
or
can
some
do so
shit.
much, but you can't do anything now. So para
Oh shit.
so it goes both ways. That's why at the end of the day, the key is to have this barometer of balance, understanding from a meaning and purpose perspective. Where do you want your life to be in X years, financially, from a whatever standpoint, relationships, and understanding the load that you can carry moving toward that goal that you want, and then stretching
What
yourself appropriately over time to accommodate that goal.
correct no? What's your tip for the guy, the person, could be a guy or a girl, who they're so used to high load? Let's say like, I don't know, my dad or something. I don't know. Like, and then suddenly when they retire, they could implode, diba? So how the hell do they
They
not
need a hobby. I have a
oh
couple of
yeah.
patients that they need a hobby. They need
Yun.
new purpose in life. If they don't have a new purpose, they will not be happy. Just saying
Correct,
that.
correct. You're understating it. They're gonna go fucking crazy, diba?
Yeah,
So
they won't be happy.
yun, a lot of insights na. I believe that's also related to mental and emotional health, no? So yun, actually, I got a lot of insights already. I hope the viewers who watch the live or the replay naman is it's like for mental emotional health, since we're focusing on that, is it correct, Doc, na no? It's the brain talaga. That's the main organ we're focusing here on.
Well,
Or is the heart related or
your gut has most of the neurotransmitters that the brain needs. So
oh
it's kind of a gut brain axis that we're talking about when you talk about this
okay.
topic.
Interesting. Gut gut is where all the food you mentioned microbiome, diba ganon? Um strange, no? Aside from food, is there a way to keep your gut healthy? Because usually when we say gut, it's eating lang.
Uh, well, food is the number one because
Mm-hmm.
that's what the bacteria eat when you eat food. Your gut has a lot of bacteria that the microbiome that deals with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
health molecules. So yeah, it's number one. Then you can supplement your way out of it sometimes, but really, if you don't change food, nothing will change in the long term.
Okay. So mental emotional health, it's the gut and then the brain and then body tips. I think you mentioned yun. Exercise. Ito, one thing you mentioned, there were two things. Uh, what's your tips here now on purpose in life? And then you mentioned something interesting to me now, social support. So one at a time. So purpose in life, like what's your tip to someone who I don't know if this is more common than people think. But after graduating, getting work, there are some people, let's say me, I'll use me as an example. I'm going 7 years as in life insurance. I did well in the first four. Achiever, $1 million round table. 2018 moving forward, I felt very unhappy, man. So that's the time when I did a leap of faith. I did T. Harbecker, personal development seminars. Last year I did Tony Robbins. Um, Yun, and then this year I did ayahuasca cambo. So purpose. What's your tip there for yung someone who's maybe they're not even aware of. They're just like, oh, I should just be a doctor all my life. Tapos
I don't
they're
know, dude.
numb, diba?
I'm not a coach. Eh.
Well, maybe from experience lang, meaning people
At
that you've
most,
seen.
uh,
Uh,
I think ask
it's good.
yourself what you're good
It's
at.
good.
Ask yourself what you're good at. Ask yourself what you like to do. Then try
Mm-hmm.
to marry the two. And then just do that. um, Purpose always comes with a bigger meaning in things if you do it for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Depends. Eh. Some people are just happy doing certain things, and that's their purpose. I met a couple of patients that said, "I'm happy with this. Ah, okay, it's a good life. I'm happy for you." Some people want to dream big, maybe solve some problem in corporate space or whatnot. Some people just want to have a lot of money and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
I have no answer, bro. I'm not. I don't think I'm. It's just so different, and the best way for individuals to kind of figure out these things is to ask the question. I think most people don't ask the question until it's too late.
Correct, correct. That was a good answer, because you said for people who didn't catch it, ask yourself what you're good at and then what you like to do. So I went through a course, and I paid like 6 digits for that. One of the courses was Mission to Millions, and it was about finding your mission in life. So that thing behind me is actually my dream board. My God, my
Mm,
fingers. Yun. So
yeah,
I'm still working on it, diba? I'm a very imperfect work in progress, which is why we're here.
we all
The
are
other,
naman. Eh. We all are.
which is cool. We're learning from each other. You mentioned here a social support, man. So let's say sample, because maybe you see this pattern also among your clients. If the person is more of an introvert, maybe their social acuity or social intelligence, their social skills aren't really that developed. In this day and age, diba, you can just stay home, be in your Facebook, don't have to interact with people. So, yun, parang when you suggested to meet up Mark, that was a blessing in disguise. I'm not that social as a person. We ended up reconnecting with Michael Park. About for me, it's been years since I've seen that guy, another batchmate.
Buti ka
So
pa. I haven't seen him in a while, couple of
and,
years
and you're the
also.
one who suggested me. He's like, you're like, oh, let's meet up. Diba? He goes boxing with Marco, ganon.
Yeah.
So I noticed those nuances. I'm like, oh nga, no. I think the reason why people do that is partly social support. What about a person who's just cooped up in his room or her? I mean, it's not like a guy thing only. Maybe females, diba, who are extremely intelligent. Tapos they're just in their own world, diba? So as far as social support goes, what could you recommend? I guess to someone at home, they're just watching this live and then they don't get out. They're like, I can just do my work at home. Diba?
I don't know.
You know, oh, this
I
is
don't know
so
what to answer to
this
that,
is so
dude.
cool, man. I like this. This is how you know it's authentic.
I don't know. I
Less
don't know what to tell
unscripted.
people if they don't want to go out. There's no way. I don't know. Go with family or something.
So for people who don't know Dr. Raymond, I think because the way I've known you, man, like going into a party or meeting, you're always the one smiling. I don't know if the feedback you get, diba? Not just from our batchmates like Javi, Vargas, no? The girls would say, ah, yes, he's charming. Parang he's yun. I don't know what other comments they say about you.
Wala, dude. Nothing. Bro, I do need to go. I have 2
Yes,
p.m.
yes, we're at the end na. So polar opposites. I was just wondering because I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. Now I appreciate your honest answer. That's good enough, man. So to end the live, um, where can people find you, diba? Now, you mentioned you have a long wait list, diba? So maybe like whether it's a profile, a website, or some Instagram or something where they can find you to support your cause for the functional medicine, diba? Or something like that, like you want to share out there.
Yeah, online, Instagram, Facebook, which is my name. But we do have a couple of different projects we're running.
Yun.
Right now, we do a family camp, a functional medicine family camp for families or individuals or whoever wants to join. We run it once a quarter, and we measure everything in those. And we
Wow.
see change over time. It's a 28-day camp that people enroll in. Um, we're finishing one now. The last day's tomorrow. We have an entire team that runs that. The next run is in February. Um, the other stuff that we do are we are doing a fund drive now for NGOs. There is the Blast Ople Foundation, and I think there's another one that we're working with, and they're the ones that need help for some foundations doing a fund drive where the funds will use to provide nutrition and lifestyle education skills for low income families. And yeah, so I think it's like
So cool.
$50 per basket. Then apart from the skills, there's a basket of healthy food that's sent. Then we teach them how to use it. We teach them how to meditate, to do exercise, and all these, and to cook the food. that will that's the fund drive is ongoing now till January, I think. Then we run the mini education seminars by February.
Cool.
um
For low income people,
mhm.
no? That's
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
it's really the charity arm that we've been working with for quite some time now.
I
Doing
love that, man.
volunteering time for them. um what else we have? We have those.
Family
uh
camp, fun drive.
yeah, we have a practitioner education series next year.
You're
From one of the
teaching.
companies. Yeah, I teach a lot there. I teach a lot of different classes. But this one we built a nutrition supplements class because a lot of people are taking supplements. Practitioners don't necessarily know how to prescribe them. So we're building one now. We're gonna launch it in probably March of next year. We'll run that camp. Apart from that, uh, just play
You're
golf
doing
and
your
see patients, I think.
every day. So I respect your time, bro. I really mean it because Doc Raymond really has a list. I last time we talked was just 30 minutes, or less. So man, I hope the information from the live will help people, and for sure, at least you did help me. I took
Oh,
notes.
cool, man. Thanks. It's good stuff.
So man, thank you for your time, man. That's actually it. We're good, man.
You're welcome. Yeah, I have to
Thank
go.
you,
It's
bro.
good to see you, bro. We should hang out
Good to see
Christmas
you
time.
too, bro. I mean it. I
Okay.
mean it. Thank you.
Bye. Ingat. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you guys for the live. For those who didn't catch it, you can watch the replay. Again, the topic was mental, emotional health, and functional medicine with our guest speaker today, Dr. Raymond Escalona. Doctor, and he's part of the Institute of Functional Medicine. So thank you for watching. I love you, and we will see you next time.